this is what the left does. They weaponize these agencies, and then they go after kids and they go after parents. Case in point. Over at Chapter and Verse, I have a piece out just a little bit ago that gets into the school district. We've been talking about this, and I'm going to keep talking about it because this is an ongoing fight. They brought the DOJ in. You had a bunch of parents that got mad over, well, they were kind of asleep at the wheel, to be honest. And then lockdown showed them something. Lockdown showed a lot of parents things, didn't it? A lot of you out there, you were kind of shocked when your kids began doing classes at home and you were looking at the materials and you thought to yourself, wow, what's this? What's been going on in my kids' school? Your attention was arrested. If there was one silver lining that came out of the mess that was that pandemic, it arrested your attention. And you saw what was happening to your kids' minds and what people were doing behind your back, indoctrinating your kids. And our school district was no different. It was a cultural competency plan, a bunch of progressives, and that's what it was. It was a group of progressive parents that got together, and they decided that they wanted to enforce critical race theory in the schools. Imagine if your kid's going to school. Think about this for a minute. What if your kid goes to school and throughout the day, someone is offended by something that your kid innocuously did or said? And I mean, I'm not exaggerating. I have all of these materials linked. I've written about them. We've talked about them. I mean, it was as simple as the phrase that they used was a perceived microaggression. Imagine your kid going to school and say he's got an American flag on his truck and he parks his truck in the parking lot and someone takes offense to it. Well, that's a perceived microaggression. I'm not kidding you. That's literally a complaint that came from some of the progressives about a high school senior at the district where we were fighting this. That would have been logged as a microaggression for him. It would have been attached to his permanent record with no explanation. And then when he applied for either if a job wanted to look at his high school record, if he was going to trade school, if he was going to go be an apprentice, or if he was going to go to college, that would have followed him. No joke. That's the kind of stuff they're talking about. So imagine you're dealing with that with your kid. Your kid's going to school and they're having sensitive Marxist perceived microaggressions attached to their record. That's one of the things that they wanted to do. They wanted to take away our school resource officer program that we voted on and agreed to pay our tax dollars to. They wanted to undermine our vote in a free and fair election and take the salary for the SRO officers that we voted on and paid for and agreed to and committed to and redirect that to a DEI chief. A chief diversity officer to implement DEI and oversee the snitch program to report students, which was an actual real thing. And it was actually displayed on a slide that teachers used when they got together in a meeting over the summer, right before lockdown, or right when they were trying to do the remote learning at home. No joke. That all happened. This is the stuff we're talking about. They wanted to incorporate teaching discrimination, equity over equality. And equity, as you know, is about guaranteed outcome. It's not about equal opportunity. In order for equity to work, discrimination is guaranteed. And they had entire courses that they were going to mandate high schoolers take in order to graduate. These are just a few of a litany of examples. I could spend the entire show, 3 hours today and the rest of the week, going through all the proposals and the insanity of this that they were demanding. And they wanted all of us to fund it. They were asking for more tax dollars to fund this stuff on top of it. And so when parents fought back, and it was broken open into the public by a Cuban family in our town who were ignored by NBC and all of the media, I personally watched an NBC producer blow past the father of that family because his brown skin made him ineligible for their racial narrative, and they wanted to go find a white grievance mother, a progressive Marxist to talk to instead. I watched it happen. People recorded it. It's a true story. While they were trying to accuse everyone else of racism, they ignored the fact that over 70% of the town voted against their DEI initiatives that they were trying to get the school district to adopt. So they got mad, and now they had 4 students claim that, well, their civil rights were violated. And one of them was discrimination about LGBTQ, whatever, barbecue. So the DOJ is like, oh, well, students complain, we got to come in now. And now they're demanding the school adopt all this stuff again. So they're trying to do with the DOJ what they failed to do at the ballot box. And I've been seeing all these people come out of the woodwork. I watched this one business owner. I don't know if she's a business owner. She works at this studio called the Bar Method. What is that? Do people take I studied classical ballet for 18 years, so forgive my snobbery. What is that? The hell's the bar method? Steve, you're a millennial. What the hell is that? Is that where they go and pretend to do ballet? Okay, I don't either. I'm not the Lululemon, get me my pumpkin spice latte crowd. So this like maybe, I don't know if you are, I'm not throwing judgment, but I'm just saying I'm a snob about it. Anyway, some lady was like railing. She was like, this is, blah, blah, blah. She doesn't know her profile and all this other stuff. And she called 70% of the town racist on social media because they voted against this. I'm like, you realize that you, a white Marxist, typical, are excluding the contributions of the numerous minority families that, if you want to get really racial about it, they were louder than the white families about this. That's a fact. Sure, there were white families that joined them, but they were the loudest and led the charge, and they were the ones who actually filed suit against the school, not white families. It was the families of color that did it. But all of these white Marxists ignore that because they have a fetish with screaming racism. So you have this lady who wants to be the white savior over at the bar method, who's going on about how 70% of the town is racist. Does that include the people whose skin color is darker than yours, sweetheart? I'm curious. Like, how stupid to do that with your dumb business right there. And, like, what is the matter with you? And then they get mad if people don't want to go to their business. Well, you showed your backside. I mean, I'm all for letting people fly their freak flag, but I don't like working with Marxists. That's why I want to know who does what. I don't want the government to shut them down. I want to know who the Marxists are out there. There's a Red Scare 2.0. But they're trying to get the DOJ to do what they failed to do with the ballot box. And ain't that just like sore losers? Over 70% of the vote, every election we took over the school board. This is what you got to worry about in your school. I've been hearing from some of you after we started talking about this. And you all were saying that there was, in fact, I don't want to give the school district away because it was a smaller school district, but they were saying that they were dealing with a couple of parents that were trying to propose, the Ibram X. Kendi, some of the reading materials. They said this was last year, which seems kind of late, right? Like anybody was still trying this. And they said that they were watching, and someone cited Southlake because the progressives here, who are very well connected and well funded, were able to work with NBC and collude with them to bring in the DOJ. And so they were trying to figure out, the two parents that were doing this were trying to figure out how to do that in their school district to force this CRT DEI initiative nonsense into their smaller school. And that's like their playbook. If they lose, then they want to bring in the federal government. Now think about how look at this. This is a trend with them. Look at 2016. What happened? Donald Trump won the election. And then what happened? Hillary Clinton was mad, so they decided to weaponize every agency to try to undermine a free and fair election. They got the FBI. I don't care if you like Trump or not. I got my criticisms of him. Lord knows. I don't care if you like him or not. You either can ignore that this actual concrete fact history took place, or you can realize it and then also acknowledge that it could be used against you, especially if you got somebody like me running. If I ran for office, I would absolutely abuse all my authority and destroy all my opponents. I'm not even going to lie. I'm the type of person who should not ever be allowed in elected office because I will abuse it and I will literally destroy your lives and the lives of everyone associated with you. I fully admit that I'm Gladriel with the one ring. Never put me in elected office. I would never want to represent anyone who would want to. And I'm pointing this out with 2016 because look what they did. They lost, and what happened? They used all of these bureaucracies to go after people like Carter Page, all of these other people. And guess what? There was no evidence of wrongdoing. They made it all up. But this is a trend for the left. If they can't do it at the ballot box, by God, they're going to weaponize government agencies to go after you. We're coming up on another election in November. Why would you want to give these people more power?